welcome back to Rue's Life. It is the 6th of October. The temperatures have started to drop a little and we've had a few days of absolutely torrential rain. But the sun is out this morning. It's about 8:30, and what I want to do today is my big harvest. So throughout most of the growing season I tend to harvest little and often, and I leave most things in the ground. But what I'm going to do this year, as it's the end of the growing season for the bulk of things, I will still have a few bits and pieces going in the polytunnel and my onion sets and so on outside, but the bulk of my growing is coming to an end. I have acquired a second chest freezer this year, which we've set up in the barn, and the plan is to have a really big harvest, get everything in, and then I'm going to process and freeze everything. So everything will either be blanched and then frozen, or parboiled and frozen. There will be a few things that I'm going to leave. So my squash, which, as I've mentioned multiple times, are late this year, and there's a few ready to harvest. The rest I'm going to leave because there are some small ones and there's actually still some flowers and they've got a chance. So if they do develop, then I'll harvest them as they mature. But everything else, I'm going to have a really good time this morning getting everything in, and then I'm going to get it all processed. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're all well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what I'm going to get harvested today, and I hope that you're excited too. look behind me. I am going to give you a better look. I'll spin the camera around and show you. But I have had a fabulous morning. I'm really pleased with what I've got harvested. There are some things that have surprised me. There are some things that aren't as good as I would have hoped. But overall, I'm absolutely thrilled with my big harvest today. So as I said at the beginning of the video, generally speaking, I don't do this big harvest, but I've got a couple of days off, and I thought, as we've got this freezer, this was always my plan this season, was to grow things for as long as I could and then get a big harvest in and get everything processed and into that freezer. So let's spin that camera around and I'll show you what we've got, and then I'll just give you a quick walkabout and show you kind of what's left and what my plans are. So we'll start left to right. I've got some more of the kale in, although there's lots more on the plant. I'm going to leave that where it is and just keep picking and using it. I've got some more of the purple sprouting broccoli and some more of the sprouts. They are early, but we've got plenty left on there for Christmas. But we have already been picking and enjoying all of those, and they're absolutely fabulous, and I'm thrilled with my brassicas this year. My squash. So considering my ridiculously slow start, having lost my first lot of plants, I'm really pleased with this harvest. There are lots more on the vines and I'm going to leave them there, but I've got a really lovely selection of Crown Prince, Petit Pan and Yukiki Kiri, and I'm absolutely thrilled with those. And then we'll move along. So here I've got my multicoloured carrots. Some of them are quite small, but I like them as babies and they're going to be great. We've already eaten quite a lot of those, but I thought I'd just get them up. Then a really good selection of parsnips. I could have left the parsnips in and had some more whoppers like this one, but I'm going to get those parboiled and frozen because I just wanted to start getting these beds clear. And then we'll move along again. And here I've got some fabulous carrots. There's some really nice big fat ones, there's some fairly long ones, and then there's a few tiddlers, but again they'll be nice and tasty and sweet. And then in front of those are my very disappointing bean harvest. If you do follow me, you will know that I had a really poor season with my beans this year, but I've got a few, and what I've done is left those. They're almost dry now. I will continue to dry them and I will use those for sowing again next season. And then moving along, these are the banana shallots, which are now cured. They've been in the polytunnel for a while now, so they're ready for me to chop and freeze. I've pulled up the last of the chard here, which I will actually use. It doesn't store particularly well, so that will probably go into the next couple of meals for tonight and tomorrow. I've got this enormous courgette here, and then I've just taken these little baby ones off. I could have left them to develop, but I thought I'd get them off and get them used. There's a few tomatoes here. I've got more to the right there, and there are still a lot on the vines which are green, which I will show you. These are the onions, which again are well seasoned now. They were harvested some time ago and I've just been seasoning them. I'm going to get them chopped and frozen, and there are a few more onions in the back there, and we've been eating them as we go, which is why there are less, but the rest will be chopped and frozen. I have managed to get a few chilies, which again I'm going to freeze. I've got 5 or 6 cucumbers there. The cucumbers have been fantastic this year, but I just thought let's get them off the vines because I wanted to get those pulled up. At the back there, I've just popped it into that pot for now, is the remainder of the basil. Now it has started to bolt, but I can get those leaves off and get them chopped and frozen, and they'll still be great for adding flavour, especially alongside these tomatoes for sauces and so on. My potatoes are, yeah, well, you can see. Now I have already had a few potato harvests and we've enjoyed them. The potatoes being this small and not much of a yield is entirely my fault. I grew them in bags this year and I didn't give them enough compost, so they simply haven't really developed, but we've got a few potatoes which can be cleaned and parboiled and frozen. And then just to the left here, I'm still getting strawberries, so there's a wee pot of strawberries there. I am still harvesting strawberries, about that many on a daily basis at the moment, and they're so tasty. My rhubarb, finally I've harvested my rhubarb, and boy oh boy, what wonderful rhubarb it is. Again, we've already had some this season and it was just delicious. So this is just going to be chopped and frozen. And then on the right are my okay-ish sweet corn. I've just stripped one back so that you can see. There's a tiny one, and I think there's 7 altogether, and you can see there that they haven't fully developed, but what kernels we have got, I've already eaten a couple of these corns and we've just stripped them off and popped them in a stir fry, and they're really, really tasty. So although they're not fully developed, there's plenty on them and it's still a harvest. So you can see I've cleared a lot of the beds here in the polytunnel. So this square one here, there's nothing in that, and the long bed there to the right, there's nothing in that. Across here are the aubergine, which I really doubt are going to come to anything, but they are flowering, they are growing, and who knows, if it stays warm for a bit longer, and especially here with the protection of the poly, who knows, they might develop into something, but I'm very, very doubtful. I have left the courgette plant there because, again, there's a few flowers and there are still a few little tiny ones developing. They're not doing any harm by staying in that bed. And this year I'm clearing the polytunnel in stages rather than having the whole thing to do in one day, which is what I have done historically. So I'm pacing myself this season. And then I'll just swing you round to look at the tomato plants. There are still quite a lot of green tomatoes on the vines. There's a lot of the beef ones. I don't know if you can see. Let me move the camera down here, and I'm just going to leave them because this week it's going to be a little bit warmer. If they, I mean, they may or may not ripen. If they don't, what I'll do is what I did last year, which is to get all the green ones in. I put them in an open cardboard box in a sunny place in the house in full sunlight, and I pop a couple of apples in alongside them, and that helps to ripen them. And then once they have ripened, I will get them chopped and frozen. But all in all, wrapping up the season, I will still have a few bits and bobs going. There'll be plenty of videos coming out over the autumn and winter months. So whilst there's lots of clearing and tidying and bed prep to do, I will also be getting my onions in. I'm going to take the netting now off the brassica, so get rid of that brassica cage and just allow those to continue doing their thing until we've eaten it all. The squash, as I say, I'm going to leave those vines because there are still quite a lot of squash developing. The butternut squash are about this big at the moment, so they're in with a chance, and there are still quite a lot of the varieties that I've harvested today still starting to develop on those vines, so let's give them a chance. I've got some leek, which are sort of about this diameter at the moment, which I have in a pot and I'm letting those develop. I've got some leek seedlings to go out and various other bits and pieces that I'll be doing over the coming months. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. As I say, I'm really thrilled. I'm very aware that historically with my videos I've shown you lots of the growing, and I tend to nip out and grab things to harvest to eat, and I don't always show that to you. So I just wanted to show you what I can grow and do grow, and what I can harvest. So I've shown you some of my little intermittent harvest, but I wanted to show you the big one today. So drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. What are you harvesting at the moment? What have been, you know, really successful for you this year? What have perhaps been a little disappointing? Have you tried anything new? Yeah, share all with me in the comments below, and also if you want to hop onto my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon.